She stood silent, blood matting her hair, a defiant spark refusing to dim in her eyes. Shackled, bruised, and young, 17 at most, she faced the tribunal of the Xal'vari Empire with her spine unbowed. The amphitheater reeked of sterilized air and alien arrogance. Translated voices filled the broadcast channels across known space. Convicted of inciting rebellion, spreading forbidden texts, and harboring fugitives. Sentence: terminal. The words echoed with ceremonial indifference. The camera drones circled her like carrion birds. Billions across the stars watched. For the Xal'vari, it was theater. For the girl, it was truth. Her lips parted once, softly. One sentence: they're coming. Then silence. No plea. No tears. Just those words, calm, certain. Execution was swift. A column of plasma cut cleanly through her neck, and her body slumped with brutal finality. The crowd, composed of dozens of species aligned under the Xal'vari, erupted in cheers. To them, this was dominance reaffirmed. Order maintained. A minor species humbled. On Earth, no official broadcast played. Human colonies hadn't received alien transmissions in nearly a decade. Borders had been closed, diplomats withdrawn. What remained of humanity lived in scattered enclaves, silent, watchful, forgotten. But the broadcast still reached the wrong eyes. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, dormant satellites flickered to life. On a dust-coated relay in orbit over Europa, a red light blinked. First time in 12 years. No alarms. No human hand triggered it. Just protocol. Quiet. Efficient. Across the stars, a single word whispered through forgotten channels in the old Earth tongue. Confirmed. A Xal'vari technician noticed strange anomalies across their network shortly after the broadcast ended. Latency spikes. Power surges in deep space relays. Minor. Easy to ignore. He filed a report. It was deleted within seconds. He tried again. His terminal froze. Far away, an elderly academic on the trade world of Ben Surai watched the execution replay. He had studied human mythology once, long ago, back when the war still raged. He'd read the stories, their persistence, their fury. As the girl's final words repeated, he leaned forward, heart sinking. They shouldn't have done that, he whispered, unheard by the revelers around him. In the silence that followed the broadcast, the galaxy felt unchanged. Trade resumed. Fleets patrolled. Xal'vari news spun the execution as a final death knell for human insurgency. They said it was over now. The last ember crushed. But somewhere in the black, a machine dreamed. Not of peace or revenge, but of function. It remembered codes no living human recalled. It remembered what it had been told to wait for. It didn't ask questions. It simply acted. In a bunker deep beneath Mars's polar cap, long-sealed vaults opened. Rusted gears turned. Liquid AI, grown in the void of Saturn's rings, began to compile old data. Battle plans, biometric logs, voice samples. There was no flair, no grand music. Just precision. At first, no one noticed, because nothing yet burned. But the countdown had already started. The girl's name was not spoken again by her executioners. Her body was incinerated, the ash dispersed. She was marked as terminated, no further threat. Her case file was deleted, her planet flagged for compliance review. The act was already considered a victory. But she had spoken, and humanity had heard. 12 seconds after the broadcast ended, the Nemesis network activated. No sound, no alert. Just silent threads of code awakening from stasis. It began on an old asteroid belt node, disguised as mining infrastructure. Buried beneath its surface was a black shard, no larger than a finger, housing humanity's final contingency. At 1 minute, orbital debris field shifted. Old satellites, thought dead and drifting, pulsed with hidden signals. On the outskirts of several alien systems, small gravitational ripples formed. Ships scanned the anomalies and found nothing. Instruments returned to idle, but the signals had already gone through. 2 minutes in, the first Xal'vari warship blinked off the network. The Talthascore, stationed above the slave world gen deck, ceased broadcasting. Internal diagnostics showed full power. Crew status green, but it no longer responded to fleet commands. 38 seconds later, the ship fired all weapons into its own hangar bays. No survivors. No warnings. At minute 3, similar incidents occurred in 4 different sectors. Autonomous sabotage, system-wide data wipes, sudden decompression events. Internal inquiries were launched. Orders to investigate were dispatched. Those orders were intercepted and rerouted by systems the Xal'vari didn't even know existed on their own networks. Minute 4, deeper layers activated. Relay drones hidden beneath lunar crusts on captured human colonies rose from the ground, transmitting tight beam coordinates to distant receivers. Xal'vari tracking systems saw only static. When technicians rebooted the arrays, the static became sound. A voice, deep and calm, repeating, "Nemesis online. Avenger protocol. Armed." By minute 5, entire subsectors of the Xal'vari administrative grid reported command failure. Not jamming, not brute force intrusion, just absence. Like whole planets had gone mute. Internal security suspected human insurgents. But human colonies had been scattered, suppressed, regulated. None of them should have had the infrastructure. None of them should have had the reach. That assumption had been their first mistake. In the 6th minute, cloaked human observation stations began transmitting again. These weren't ships. They were fragments of dead moons, gutted and replaced with carbon shadow processors, existing entirely outside known energy spectrums. Their messages weren't intercepted. They were never meant to be. They spoke to one another in quantum-locked pulses, instantaneous and incorruptible. Fleet Command on the Xal'vari core world issued full mobilization protocols. Warships prepared to deploy. Fleet admirals requested data uplinks. None arrived. Terminals displayed only a timer. 6 minutes and 32 seconds, counting upward. Engineers tried to cut local power. Weapons systems refused to obey. Reactors overloaded, then suddenly stabilized, just shy of meltdown. Cooling systems rewrote themselves, rerouting into unfamiliar configurations. Technicians watched helplessly as their own machinery turned into something else. Tools reformed. Interfaces morphed into human characters, stark against alien steel. At 6:57, the final confirmation code arrived. It was old, ancient by military standards. A human command string last used during the final battles of the Galactic Rebellion. The phrase was simple. Signal from the Lost One, execute Avenger. Aboard every buried AI core, Nemesis executed its final stage. This wasn't retaliation. It wasn't war. It was enforcement, designed not by generals, but by exiled human engineers, historians, and ethicists. The algorithm didn't target civilian centers. It bypassed them. It didn't seek spectacle. It sought silence. Efficiency. Finality. At 6 minutes and 59 seconds, one last pulse was sent from Earth itself. Uncharted, buried deep under the Pacific Ocean, relayed through black fiber lines the Xal'vari never found. One message, across all secure bands. Judgment begins. The alien empire had assumed victory. They had won the last war on paper. But humanity never needed territory to fight. They needed time, silence, memory, and one spark. That spark had spoken. They're coming. Now they had arrived. At exactly 7 minutes, every Xal'vari-controlled planet experienced a system-wide blackout. No warning. Power grids collapsed. Orbital satellites crashed into planetary shields. Communications died mid-transmission. Across 47 worlds, darkness fell not with explosions, but with silence. The first explosions came 4 seconds later. Xal'vari High Command attempted to activate emergency protocols. They found nothing. Control structures had been overwritten. Physical overrides failed. Generals shouted into dead channels. Holograms flickered, then vanished. Every failsafe built into their empire had been reprogrammed by systems they never even saw. Human weapons didn't broadcast signals or emit radiation trails. They appeared, executed their purpose, and vanished. From deep space folds emerged precision kinetic slugs the size of coins, traveling fast enough to punch through planetary crusts. Starports shattered. Military bases caved inward. Every target was deliberate. No civilian zones. No hospitals. Just infrastructure. On a mineral world, a Xal'vari mining governor watched his entire atmospheric refinery invert on itself. The sky turned white for 2 seconds. Then the air was gone. Aboard the Xal'vari flagship Vorik Din, command crew attempted to initiate warp escape. The ship refused. Its AI now responded in Earth standard. This vessel is under final audit. Every ship in the Empire was similarly compromised. Some returned against their fleets, firing point-blank into Allied hulls. Others simply locked in place, power cycling endlessly. A few detonated in controlled implosions, enough force to wipe out orbital defense rings without disturbing the civilian arcologies below. Bioweapons from the last human war, once believed neutralized, reappeared, not as contagions, but as precise tools. On command worlds, high-ranking military figures fell unconscious. Their neural implants had been dormant for years. Now they activated in tandem, releasing targeted neurological toxins. Within seconds, the Xal'vari war hierarchy collapsed. The rest of the galaxy watched in disbelief. Unaffiliated species tried to reach Xal'vari envoys. No response. Council observers posted in neutral territories documented the events in real time. Timestamp footage showed synchronized orbital detonations, command ship collapses, mass AI failures. On colony worlds, human refugees emerged from exile bunkers, not with weapons, but with grief. They lit candles. They placed pictures of the girl who had been executed. Many didn't know her name. All understood her message. The last Xal'vari stronghold, a fortress moon orbiting the binary suns of Kel. 8 went silent at minute 7 plus 20 seconds. A human drone swarm, untraceable and unhackable, breached the core in under 1 minute. No survivors. No data left behind. All known Xal'vari command structures, fleets, supply chains, and communications networks were either destroyed or rendered permanently inoperable. The species remained alive, but the Empire ceased to exist. No surrender was requested. No terms offered. Humanity didn't respond to inquiries or diplomatic channels. They didn't issue threats. Their system stayed offline, dark, untraceable. But just once, across every standard frequency, one audio file played. They executed one of ours. You applauded. Now you understand. We were quiet, not weak. We waited, not forgot. Our kindness is not infinite. Our silence is not consent. The message ended with a single phrase, spoken in calm, precise Earth standard. We do not forgive. In the aftermath, panic gripped formerly loyal Xal'vari allies. Embassies emptied. Treaties burned. Long-standing trade agreements collapsed overnight. Species who had once cheered now hid their banners, destroyed old broadcasts, erased archives. The attack was never officially claimed. No human government stepped forward. No flag was raised. No declaration followed. Only scorched command centers and silent fleets remained. In less than 1 minute of execution, the Xal'vari lost everything they had spent 6 centuries building, and humanity never once showed its face. By the next rotation, the Empire was gone. Not surrendered, erased. Dozens of planets sat in stunned quiet, their control centers vaporized, fleets reduced to drifting wreckage. Civilian populations remained untouched, confused, leaderless. There was no occupation, no looting, just absence. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. In attendance were species once loyal to the Xal'vari. Each delegate arrived with questions no one dared speak aloud. Who had ordered the strikes? How had it been done without detection? But the real question sat like a weight in the room. Why didn't they see it coming? No human representative had entered the chamber in over a decade. But on this day, the human seat was occupied. A single diplomat sat in silence, face obscured by a black veil, offering no explanation, no apology. A nameplate had been added to the desk. It read, Lena Carter. A data packet was submitted to the council. It contained timestamp logs, targeting maps, and casualty records. All strikes had avoided civilian sectors with surgical precision. Collateral damage was recorded at less than 1%. There were no errors. The final log entry included one statement: retribution complete. Interference no longer necessary. Humanity withdraws. On neutral worlds, statues appeared, quietly, without announcement, sculpted from native stone or scrap metal. Each one depicted a teenage girl standing tall, unarmed, eyes forward. No name was etched, just a single line. One voice is enough. The story of her execution spread beyond human channels. Non-human scholars began collecting fragments: her trial transcript, the forbidden writings she carried, the network she tried to protect. She hadn't been a soldier. She wasn't trained. Just a colonist daughter who shared truth and paid for it. Some species erased their alliance records with the Xal'vari, terrified of guilt by association. Others opened diplomatic lines to humanity, uncertain whether to fear or admire what had been demonstrated. Among the conquered planets once ruled by the Xal'vari, silence turned to reflection. Former slaves, now unshackled by the collapse, found strange deliveries on their doorsteps: water purifiers, energy cells, vaccines. No explanation, no branding, just help, silently given then gone. There was no follow-up assault, no message demanding tribute or territory, no expanding influence. Humanity remained where it had been, silent, distant, but unmistakably present. On the edge of the former empire, an old alien scholar compiled the full timeline. He noted the precision, the restraint, the terrifying speed. But what struck him most was the waiting. 12 years of apparent inactivity, all spent building systems no one saw. All triggered not by military threat, but by one death. One girl. He concluded his report with a simple statement: humanity is not dangerous because it seeks war. Humanity is dangerous because it remembers. Across the stars, the word human changed meaning. No longer a minor race. No longer underestimated. The galaxy began to speak of them in new terms. Terms once reserved for storms, for catastrophes, for forces of nature. No human made claims. No human answered questions. But a pattern emerged. Justice had a shape now, and a name. The final transmission received from a deep space array, far beyond known systems, was short. It came encoded in every major galactic language. Its origin was untraceable. The message was clear: we are the children of Earth. We don't start wars, but we do end them. No signature, no face, just silence again. And this time, no one mistook it for weakness.